Did you know that Mexico has the highest concentration of American expats living outside of the USA? Maybe it's the Aztec ruins, or maybe it's Dia de los Muertos. But can you really live here like a king or queen for only $2,000 a month? Here are 10 crucial expenses you need to consider if you want to make your dream of living in Mexico come true. Let's get this fiesta started. Visas, passports, and other important documents. Before setting off, you need to make sure that all of your paperwork is in order. Mexico is one of the easiest countries to get a residency visa, but long lines and paperwork can be exhausting. You will have to prove that you have enough funds to cover your cost of living and pass a simple immigration interview done at the Mexican consulate nearest you. The consulate will usually give you a list of requirements and paperwork needed for your interview. There are two types of residency visas, permanente or temporal. Permanent or temporary. The main difference between the two visas comes down to income requirements and, in some cases, retirement age when you apply. Moving forward, we'll stick to US dollars to make things easier. The cost of getting a residency visa in Mexico is around $300 if you decide to process it by yourself. Be advised that some of the paperwork is in Spanish, so you might want to work with someone who can help you make sure you're filling out the forms correctly. And you will have to translate certain documents like a marriage certificate into Spanish, and Mexican immigration will only accept this from a certified translator. If you do decide to hire an immigration lawyer or facilitator, prices will start to vary depending on which services they include. But you can expect to pay anywhere from $400 to $700. It is 100% well worth the money to ensure your process is smooth and you don't waste any time or money doing things the wrong way. With all of your paperwork in order, let's book your flight. Number 9, getting to Mexico. The cost of a one-way plane ticket to Mexico on a major airline can range anywhere from $300 to, well, sky's the limit. Check airfare deal websites and book your trip as far in advance as possible to keep the price down. Once you've landed, it's time to seek shelter. Number 8, rent and utilities. Congratulations, you've made it to Mexico. But where do you go from here? Here's a quick tip. Book an Airbnb in advance or rent a room in a hostel for after you land. This will be your base of operations while you get out there and look for property on foot. You will need to have up to 3 months rent available up front to secure rental property. This should be manageable for most people coming from across the pond, as rent in Mexico is over 60% lower than the United Kingdom on average. And for any Canucks thinking of making the move, the average rent is more than 65% lower in Mexico than Canada. You will also need an avail, a guarantor who will co-sign your rental agreement and agree to take on your debt if you miss your rental payments. This will typically need to be somebody who lives in Mexico. Your employer may be able to help you with this, so don't be too afraid to ask. A one-bedroom apartment located in a city center costs about $430 a month. Electricity will only be about $30 a month, but that can be 4 times more expensive the closer you are to the beach. And now for our most precious resources. Netflix can cost about $10 a month in Mexico, and the average internet provider charges $25 a month. All right, you finally found a place to put your stuff. Now let's celebrate with a delicious Mexican meal. Number 7, groceries and dining out. Mexico is renowned for its eating and drinking culture. You could easily enjoy a few nights out on the town with a dining out and entertainment budget of $50 per month. For a romantic dinner for 2, expect to pay about $30 for a 3-course meal at a mid-range restaurant. And for a cheap meal for 1, you can get away with paying just over $7. But no matter where you live, it's always better for your wallet to make your own meals. So let's head to the grocery store. Groceries for the month will cost about $200. Milk costs about $1 per quarter gallon or liter. You can get 12 eggs for just $2. Bread is only about $2 per loaf. And you can get 2 pounds of cheese for $6. A bottle of local beer should run you just a little over $1. And for a taste of home, an imported beer costs just over $2. And you're gonna wanna stay hydrated in the sweltering Mexican heat. A 1.5 liter bottle of water is only about 78 cents. Now, grocery shopping is a lot easier with a car. And getting around in Mexico can be cheaper than you think. Number 6, Transportation. You can get a new car for about $17,000 in Mexico, which is much cheaper than any new car sold in the US. To keep that car in working order, you'll only have to pay $50 a month. And now, the best news at all, gas in Mexico is just over $1 per liter. But if you would rather put that new money to different use, you can always get a taxi. And for an even cheaper way to explore Mexico, public transportation should only cost you about $30 a month. With all those savings, why not check out a football match? Sports and leisure. Mexico is a sports-obsessed country. Association football, soccer, is by far the most popular sport, but Mexicans are also huge lovers of baseball, basketball, and boxing. If the arts are more your thing, a movie ticket is just under $4. And to burn off that popcorn, you could get a gym membership for less than $30 a month. And if you want a real workout, you could try raising some kids. Number 4, childcare. Unfortunately, education in Mexico ranks among the lowest in the world. You may want to consider sending your children to private or international schools. If you move with your kids, early application for a good school is the way to go as seats fill up fast. For a full day of preschool or kindergarten, the cost is just under $180 per child per month. And for international primary school, the cost is almost $4,000 per year per child. Before you send your kids off to their first day of class, they'll need some back-to-school clothes. Number 3, clothing. A new pair of Nike running shoes, just under $80. Hey, they have an H&M here. A new dress, just over $32 at a chain store. With all of these savings, you decide to do something you couldn't even dream of back in the States. That's right, it's time to buy a house. Number 2, real estate. Real estate in Mexico tends to get more expensive the closer you get to the coast. But the experience of living next to the Pacific Ocean or the Caribbean Sea, priceless. Nestpick and Expat.com are great places to start looking for properties in your area. If you want a little home away from home, the price to buy an apartment in the city center is about $1,200 per square meter. Cheap food, cheap housing, cheap entertainment, cheap gas? It's all too good to be true, right? I mean, there's gotta be like some sort of horrible Number 1, death and taxes. Retiring in Mexico has its pros and cons. The country is notoriously low on the global tax scale, paying just an average of 3.4% for its GDP in taxes. That means retirees can expect to have far more spending power than they would in the US. Taxes in Mexico include income tax, VAT, property taxes, and more. However, the downside of having low taxation is that Mexico's public healthcare system is woefully underfunded. Healthcare spending in Mexico ranks among the lowest in all developed countries. Most expats pay an average of $20 without insurance for a visit to a specialist, and about $30 for a full teeth cleaning plus whitening at a dentist. If you have insurance, you can expect to pay less or even nothing at all. If you have private insurance, medical care is often covered at no cost, meaning living in Mexico will quickly save you money on medical care. Plus, if you're coming from the US, most pharmaceuticals are over 50% less expensive in Mexico. Whether you decided to pay out of pocket, get private health insurance, or go with the public healthcare system, you can rest assured that treatment in Mexico is not only efficient, but very affordable. We still highly recommend having at least a basic private insurance policy, since more serious treatments like cancer, kidney failure, or heart problems can get pricey when you're paying out of pocket. When you buy a property in Mexico, you will have to pay a 2% acquisition tax when you receive the deed. Buyers also pay 5 to 8% in closing costs. As a homeowner, you'll pay a quarterly property tax that is roughly 0.1% of the property's value. If you're using a property for rental income, the money you earn will be taxed at a 25% rate. Needless to say, your money does go a lot further in Mexico. You'll be able to afford higher-end homes, restaurants, traveling, a live-in helper, and other amenities. Mexico offers a lifestyle for everyone and every budget. depending on where you decide to live in Mexico, you could save hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month on essential expenses like rent. This is especially true if you compare the cost of living in Mexico to most of the US, Canada, or Europe. For a single person, your estimated monthly cost would only be about $480, not including rent. For a family of 4, the estimated monthly cost would be a little over $1,700, not including rent. A breakdown of these expenses looks something like this. Your total monthly expenses would come out to just under $1,200, meaning you have $800 to put away each month. But where you put it is up to you. If you want more information about anything we've covered in this video, be sure to check out our guide linked below. I hope you found this video useful. If you're thinking about moving to Mexico, let me know where down in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe for more guides on living abroad. Till next time.